Hey YouTube, here at the GR 2110. I want to talk about some issues I've been having. I bought this thing off of Facebook Marketplace, got a heck of a deal on it. And one of the biggest issue was it didn't have any power. Obviously, not obviously, but when I first got the machine, it wouldn't run. Had a problem with the engine. Basically, it's got a new engine. It's got an engine out of a BX. And you can see the dipsticks on this side. That's abnormal. It ended up being a bolt in the valve. That was kind of strange, but it was holding, I think, this cylinder open, so it didn't have any compression. Yeah, it was that cylinder. I found a bolt inside the intake valve. I don't know how that got there, and I don't know what's up with that, but got that fixed. Then we had to completely rebuild the rear end. The dude just said that the rear end was blown out, so it was like, all right, cool, rear end rebuild, but it didn't run. He gave us a big spiel about how he just parked it. There might be water in the fuel. That was not it. So rebuilt the rear end, rebuilt the engine. Well, it's a new engine, new block. We used the old head. So let me show you that real quick. So you got a D782. That's just a valve cover, but that's the head. And then D722 block. So there's that. Proof is in the pudding. So, it runs great, by the way. So we rebuilt the rear end. While I was rebuilding the rear end, I thought I'd go ahead and throw a fuel filter on here. I won't link a part, but I'll just show a picture of it. You can get these off Amazon for like 15 bucks or something. I got mine from a local Kubota dealer. But after I put the rear end back together, it would stutter going up the hills. So it would just kind of jerk. It would jerk. And the problem ended up being some valve blocks for the hydrostat. So I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there's these pistons inside the hydrostat, and the pistons will shoot out and rotate, and that's what pumps the fluid through another cylinder block in there. And I guess they just call that the HST, the hydrostatic transmission. All right, I got some pictures here from that problem I had with the tractor where it would stutter up the hills, and you can see I'm pointing to an oil relief. I think that's what that is, but you can see all the grooves where that valve block, or that piston block, ran around that circle. You can't really see it well, but you can feel it. You can feel it when you drag your nail across there. It would catch your nail. And they were real fine. They weren't much at all. When I had that machine, the guy only took 0.04 of an inch off of that surface to get it back down to flush. Here it is after I polished it up. He did a 600 grit finish. I took it down to 1,000. And it's like a mirror finish almost. Close up of that. Close up of the other one. You don't got to worry about the grooves. That's supposed to be there. This is that block I was talking about that rides against that other block that was in the previous picture. So this is where the pistons go. They go in those on the opposite side. If you flip that around, the pistons go in there and they pulse in and out, and that's what pumps the fluid. And I polished that up. That didn't take much. I just rubbed both of those blocks against a granite stone. You want to make sure that is a perfectly smooth surface. I finished that off with 800 grit. Alright, I pulled up a diagram of that HST. So here's that block that I had machined 0.04 off, and just the opposite side of that. And you can see those valve blocks, that's what they call those. That was the part that I lapped on the granite stone. And you can see the pistons and the springs in there. Swash plate. But then it had an issue where it didn't have any power going up the hills. So it's not that the engine would stall, but it just wouldn't move. It just lost power. So I decided to go ahead and check the pressure on it, on the hydrostat. And the pressure is supposed to be 1,595 psi. I was in spec. I was, right around 1,500, 1,550 psi. But the way you check that is there's that filter housing right here, and right below that filter housing, or above that filter housing, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, right here and right here in that block, there's a couple of test ports. And what you'll have to do is take off that filter housing and install, you'll have to install an old GR 2100 pickup tube. So this tube right here, you have to get a different one. Actually, I got one. So that just goes in that slot right there. And you can see it connected to the OEM hose location. So you put that pipe in there, connect a pressure test kit to those two ports, and that's how you get your pressure. So I did the test and it came out fine, but it was doing, it just wouldn't go. So I installed some shims in the pressure relief valves. That was the cure. That was the magic bullet. Let me see if all right, so that is the plug for the forward pressure relief, and the opposite side of that block is the plug for the reverse pressure relief. I just so happen to be working on another GR 2100. No, yeah, it's a GR 2100 with the updated hydrostat. Let's see that thing. Oh, there it is. So here's the updated hydrostat. You can see it's got the bearings, the bearing race. Well, it's just a groove for the bearing. But in the OEM, the one that came with it, it just had bushings for this part and here. The problem with that GR was this clutch. Those washers cut the neck of that off. But yeah, back to this thing. So there's the hydrostat that I pulled out of the current tractor I'm working on. Oh, let me see if I can't flex this thing anymore. Alright, so I'll just go ahead. I loosened this already. Okay, I thought I did. I remember it being a weird size of like 17.5 millimeters. 11/16. So here is the plug for the pressure relief. Nothing special about that. Here's the pressure relief valve. So what I did is right back here under that spring, I put a small E-clip in there that bumped the pressure up to 2,000 psi. And the width, well, the thickness of that E-clip was 0.7 millimeters. So it wasn't much at all. And that was enough to get this thing to dig instead of not move. But yeah, that worked out great. This thing will dig all 4 tires before anything slows down. So that's that. And yeah, I don't have a picture of it. I was going to show you those blocks. All right. Now I'm going to talk about the hydraulics on this thing. So you can see I got a plow with the quick connect. I think they call it a fun hitch. When you do this, when you install this fun hitch and plow combo, they want you to run a hydraulic line. Well, there's a line that comes with it. It comes from that cylinder, the lift cylinder, and it'll swoop all the way around. To that cylinder, the lift cylinder for the deck. What they want you to do is just put a quick connect right there. I was not going to do that, so install the T-fitting. So the T-fitting runs all the way over here to this bulkhead, and from the bulkhead it's got a quick connect, and obviously it runs over there back to the cylinder. It's a far better idea. It works so much better. I can take off the entire plow assembly with just that. It doesn't affect the deck cylinder. And if I had a problem with that, I could just keep the deck height maxed out, which 1. I don't know if that's higher though. Like I said, this whole thing's new to me. So that works great. You can see, I guess it barely nicks it, but you know, I guess we could just move that a little bit. Not a big deal. And you probably noticed that bulkhead right there, and that's because when I was putting this together, I thought it'd be cool to tap into the hydraulics. So that's power steering. I think it's like 1250 psi. And I'll just run hoses down to there. You know, the flow rate's crap, the pressure's crap, but it's there. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I don't know, I'm gonna make this a hydraulic tilt. I think I call it a tilt. Swivel plow. And I'm gonna make this plow come up a lot more, because as is, this thing only comes up like, yeah, 4 inches or something. It's nothing crazy. If you angle the plow and you're trying to go up a hill, it'll dig into the side. Super annoying. So that's the hydraulic setup. And I guess we could talk about the gauge cluster. Apparently that was a huge problem with these things overheating, because nobody cleaned these filters. A little schmutz there. So, and I've always had a problem with voltage. I get super annoyed if my battery dies. So I installed a voltmeter. I got a voltmeter on everything. So there's the coolant temperature, volts, and the oil pressure. This thing hits like 50 psi. It's like 42, 43 after it warms up and running. But I just tied everything. I ran new wires to everything. So you can see there was the OEM oil pressure sending unit. I guess it was just a switch. What else do we got? Oh yeah, temperature, coolant temperature sensor. And the volts I just tapped into the hour meter. The hour meter broke, so that's not accurate. So that's the gauge cluster. I'm gonna highly recommend that. Okay, I guess we can talk about the ROPS. It's on the schedule. The ROPS. Yeah. So when really just wanted it for that light bar. But this is the majority of it is from Laser Z series. I can't remember who makes that thing. But it's a 2x2 square tubing, and the Europeans, they have a ROPS on their GR 2120s. And the bracket's basically the same as this guy, only they have rectangular tubing. I just drew that up in Fusion 360, sent it to a plasma guy. He made a couple brackets, cut it out. I did a little mod to it. Like I said, 2x2 square tubing, that's standard hitch size. I had to make it longer. And don't worry, for all you welders out there, that is a full root pass. And I had to make it wider. These are all full roots. It fits great. And yeah, the lights there, because the OEM Kubota lights are not good. So then I added some grab handles for ease of getting on and off the tractor. Also, when I'm on the steep hill, I can sit on them. And you know, I got this seat with seat belts, but you can't really scoot over as much as you need to for counterbalance. So I had to take the seat belts off. But the lights are excellent. This box right here, yeah, right here. Again, I just drew that up in Fusion 360. It's a folded sheet metal part. Had the guy cut it out. He actually folded it too. And all the dimensions for the switches and everything were perfect. They were spot on. So kudos to that guy. I'm not going to mention his name here, but they do an awesome job, and they are local. And you can see that it's not the OEM seat, but that is an OEM sticker. This is a Vivor seat, and it maintains all the functionality of the OEM seat. Oh yeah, forgot to probably mention that. That's a bypass for the seat, because we all know how annoying that thing is. You get off the seat and tractor shuts off. But it has the seat switch. Obviously it uses the same mount. I just had to drill a couple holes in that mount, not a big deal. The backrest is adjustable. This thing is extra comfortable. And like I said, you can just slide your butt on to the side if you're working on steep hills. So those are some of the greatest and latest additions. I will be adding a hydraulic cooler to this thing. So, and just a external hydraulic cooler. You'll unscrew this filter, mount the plate to that. It's got a couple of hoses that run off. I'm going to stick the cooler right in this section here. It's got a little fan on it. It's pretty dang powerful. I noticed that when I was riding this thing, that hydraulic oil got super duper hot. Not a big fan of having super duper hot hydraulic oil. It might be because I'm pushing it too hard. I don't know. A couple things on the docket. I'm going to be slapping a turbo on this thing. I already got the turbo in. It is the RHB 31, little tiny baby. It's almost the same size as the muffler can right there. So look forward to seeing that guy. Some of the other things I'm doing is, we all know that these hood brackets, they all break, and it's because of this crap right here. Those tabs will break off because they use chintzy little, I don't know, speed nuts on them. So I'm going to be hopefully 3D printing some reinforcements on those, and I've got a whole piece inside that I'm going to 3D model that's going to fit right in here and then glue in place. This is an ABS hood, so it's not like I can't use some sort of ABS solvent cement.